All right, so we have Jato and Samantha, and we're going to just go through a few little exercises for you. So, of course, the first thing is the flexing. And so you want to pick up really, really light, and you just want them to break at the pole and their nose to come down, and then you let go. And so you do that on either side, and if they're doing well, I do it about 3 or 4 times per side. But you don't want to pull hard, you just want them to be super light. All right, one thing you want to do is kind of make sure all parts of the body is working. So we want to just hold Jato lightly in the mouth so he doesn't move forward, but he takes the pressure of the leg moving the hip around the shoulder. And we just want a very light, our heel coming back lightly, and he moves that hip, and so that's really, really good. So now we're going to talk about moving the shoulder. So Samantha is going to make a small circle to the right, and we want a right bend. And the right bend is a nose in, the break at the pole, kind of the withers coming up and nice and round. And so you see that left leg coming around. So now we want to do a small counter bend. And so instead of bending to the right, she's going to keep his body bent to the right, but she's going to ask him to step over to the left in a counter bend. And so you want to see that right leg crossing over and loosening up those shoulders, and that's very nice. All right, so now we're going to go the other way. So she's going to establish now a left bend, and the body is around her inside leg with the nose slightly to the left, and you can see that left eye. So once that's established, you want to establish that first. Then she wants to move the shoulders away from her leg, move the rib cage over, and bend counterly. So she was going to the left, and now she's walking off to the right while keeping him to the left. All right, so that's your shoulders and that's your counter bend. So the next thing we want to work with is the rib cage. So what we're going to do is just stop, and we're going to ask him to not walk forward. He can walk forward a little bit if they're kind of green to this, but we want her moving to the right, and we want her to move his rib cage over. And in the beginning, you might have to move shoulder, hip, so until they get it. And then eventually, you want them just to side pass. So she'll move him back. So she's going to move him over now to the left. And she might have to move his shoulder and then move the hip until you can sort of put it all together in the beginning. And you want to give him just enough pressure not to go forward. So I'll let you see her leg on this side going over. Very nice. That's very nice. Next thing you want to do is your serpentines, and I don't want to demonstrate that because y'all have done so much of it. But that would be the next step, is your serpentines, until your horse is breaking at the pole, nose down, and kind of lighten your hands. And so we're going to demonstrate. So after we've done that with Jato, what we want to work here as far as schooling him is to round his top line, bring the withers up, have his break at the pole, bring his hind legs forward in front of the leg, making a nice rhythmic sweeping jog. Now this is something you have to have a nice feel for collection in order to smooth him out. And with Jato, you have to help him. And so you can see Samantha is helping him. Now if she wants to go forward with him, she's going to come to a rising post, but she's going to keep her legs on him, moving him very still. She doesn't want him to canter yet, but that would be the next step. So she's just going to find that spot where he understands to stay round, move through that bit, and go forward. And from there, she will sit down and apply the outside leg, and that will ask for the canter departure. And you can see how nice that was, and part of the reason is because he was in her hands. Now he's not so much in her hands now because he's not really there yet for a rounded canter, because we're still just working on that trot. But go ahead and put him in your hands and bring him down the transition to the trot. We want to get him round again, sending him through that bit. And now we're going to sit and ask for another change into a jog, nice and round. And then we're going to come to a walk, keeping him round, not letting his face go, because we want to build muscle memory. And now we're going to come to a halt really easily into that bit and back him up until he's nice and soft. So these are some of the training things that we're doing. You can work on. Remember to keep your shoulders back, your chin up, your eyes forward, your heels down, and the legs right underneath your hip. It's really important in teaching these horses to round, to keep those legs on them, moving them forward from the hip forward and into that bit. So we don't want him to move inverted. So what I'll do is I'll have Samantha just move him out with no collection right now, and his head should go up and he should move pretty inverted. So I want to show you that. So go ahead and just move into a trot. So you can see the difference there. His head's up, his back has come down instead of round, and that trot is going to be much, much more bouncy. That's kind of a bouncy trot. It's not as rhythmic. That's kind of a beginner trot for a horse. So Samantha will stop him. She'll put him in her hands, have a nice feel on the mouth. She'll back him up first. Get that background, you can see those withers come up. We'll build that top line, and now she'll squeeze with the legs, kind of like a toothpaste, and squeeze him forward to the front. We want to see that back leg coming up nice underneath him. She's going to hold that nice soft feel, so it's not pulling at all. It's just holding that bit for him and asking him to become round and rhythmic. And you do this enough and he'll hold himself at it. And he's getting much, much better than before. He does still take a lot of help, but he's very willing and very nice. So we'll go ahead and stop him, back him. Very nice. So that stop is pushing him forward into the bit and saying, whoa. Not just letting up on the bit and letting his head come up. We want him to go from hind into the bit for a nice stop, so you don't have to pull. All right, there's some training tips. Good luck.